A Sanctuary broadcast.
Count us in.
3,
When you
2. Good afternoon.
Now, this is a podcast all about how our lives got flipped turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute to sit right there, and I'll tell you how we all became the Sanctuary podcast.
Yeah.
That was beautiful, babe, on the end there.
Right, so welcome in one and all. I hope you're having a fantastic day.
Guys, just like that, I've got food.
Sophie just got food at the exact right time there, didn't she?
Don't worry, she's already practiced for this role from the very beginning. She's like, every now and then, if she hears something she agrees with, you'll just hear her, yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about today, and I'm sure Sophie will butt in occasionally, which would be really cool, is a little bit of gaming news as well as games we've been playing recently. So I'm going to first hand over to Bear and let him talk about what games he's been playing as of late.
Okay, honestly, not a lot new. I mean, I've been playing some Tell Me Why. As a result of Game Pass, it's free, but if you pay for Game Pass, it is. And honestly, I love that story. I love how it played, and I could talk about it, but that's coming in a later podcast. The other game I've been playing a lot of is Grounded. And it feels like they're at that stage where they're tweaking everything before a big launch, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, how that is not the horror game of the year, I have no idea, because those spiders fuck you up.
I know you was playing it with your brother, wasn't you?
I became his mother for an entire 2 hours.
Well, that's going to be an
Get down
interesting
from there.
conversation.
Oh, I have so much sympathy for her now.
I bet you do. I mean, is she going to get a better theme tune? No, actually, I don't think she'd want a better theme tune for coming into your stream now, would she?
She enjoys that theme tune almost to a disturbing degree now, I'd say.
I'm getting ready for her to, when it gets to Halloween, get dressed up as Darth Vader and just be like, yes, this is me now. I own it. But yeah, that's what you've been playing. What any other games you've been touching on?
Stardew Valley is one that I like to come back to a lot. For me, and this might insult the game in a way, but I hope it doesn't. You know how people often say that they pick up trash TV because it's just something they can pick up, do for a couple of hours. It doesn't take a lot of thinking, but it kind of gives you that nice little release in your head of, I've done good, and I can move on. If you like trash TV, that is. For me, Stardew Valley is like my equivalent, because I've reached a point in that game where there's not a lot I can do now to challenge myself. But the little things I do and little trials and tests, it's just... It takes a few hours and de-stresses after, maybe a very busy work day.
I know all about them, yes.
It's a bit like Football Manager in a way. Only Football Manager for me, once you've got the tactic built, your job's done.
It's so stressful at times. I've obviously
lose to Brentford.
Let's not start with that. We've not even played much further on than there, have we? But I'm sure you'll pick that up again soon. Let's move on to what I've been playing a little bit of. Obviously, Persona 5 Royale's been a big one, especially if you've been watching my streams, because that's like a staple at the moment. I've never
heard of that game. Tell me about it.
It's awful. Absolutely awful. I would not ever tell people to pick it up or anything. I kind of I've got to a point. No, I absolutely do think that is one of the better games I've played of recent year. And on the side, I also have the obvious Stream Raiders, which I think they've done a really good job with. They've now put in quests and things like that, and they've kind of gone in a direction which I thought they would do. I think the quest system's incredibly broken, but I think overall it's a good idea. I think they'll fix it in the long terms, but There's like you can't epic a unit and it count as your one of your 5 big epic one of your 5 legendary units. It's a little broken, but I'm sure they'll get there in the end. I mean, all games and like those kind of things have issues to begin with.
That said, just before we move on, I need to know. Big question about Persona for you, mate. Morgana, cat or something else?
Just because I want her to scream at me, I am not a cat, I'll always call her a cat. I just like hearing her shout at me that she's not a cat. He's not a cat. She. I don't even know what gender Morgana is. Everything about Morgana tells me it's female, but I think it's male. I think I got told by someone it's male.
I think it is a male.
Yeah, which is really weird.
I mean, it's got that kind of animaic voice where you just can't quite tell, and especially when you find out it's voiced by a female, that's kind of what makes you go, "Guy, is it girl?" But because it's a Japanese game, and Morgana is, well, horny as fuck for Anne, I'd guess it's a boy.
It's not horny, it just wants Anne to stroke the... No.
Base of his tail?
Yes, the base of its tail. What games...
I can confirm it's a he, by the way.
Have you looked that up now?
Yep.
So what other games would you say that going to the other person in the group here, what games have you been playing lately?
Lots of Raft. Got really addicted to Raft.
You have to fix the charts.
No, I don't. They suck. Like I watched like a lot of Raft stuff, like Let's Plays on YouTube, and ever since like I really wanted to play it myself, and I finally did it, and it was really worth it, and now I can't stop playing it. And of course, I'm side with you guys when I say Stardew.
Yay! Stardew.
Hey, but not Grounded.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've just started to sort of play Grounded again with you guys, yeah.
I managed to dodge the bullet on that one.
Only just. Although, is there any games that have just come out that you guys are looking forward to giving a go?
I can't say there's anything. Let's be honest. For the next 120 something hours of my gaming life, it's just going to be one game.
I mean, I'd be the same, because I've got Oblivion still to do, and that comes with the DLC. That said, there is a game that came out today that I really want to get my hands on at some point.
One Division. No, sorry.
No, that's not a game. I was going to say, it's my favourite all-time movie, and they brought it out as a game, and it just looks so cool and retro the way they've done it. It is, of course, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I didn't know they'd recently made a game.
Well, they've remade the original game that they did for it, because the person who owned the rights canned it and it got binned completely, and now they've just brought it back with more content and more on the film side of that storyline, and it just looks so cool.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm with you then. I'm excited to play that if I can. That would be great.
Either he ended very abruptly, or his microphone could have smoking.
It is 4-player.
Oh, it's 4-player. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it ruined, this damn mic just ruined the delivery of that line. I'm like there whispering, and it's 4-player. And you're like, oh, he's saying nothing. I'm like, oh, it's 4-player. And now I'm just have to basically yell, it's 4-player.
We thought you'd been assassinated on the spot then, and we just caught that in the podcast.
Oh my god, it's £12.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that on sale, or is that...
Well, it's just come out.
Okay. So
today.
Probably not on sale, so it's probably going to be that cheap for the rest of its life.
And for anybody who's in our Discord, who's wondering what I'm talking about, if you go into the Bear stream chat, there's a link in there to the game on the Ubisoft official store, and on there you can learn more about this 2D version of a classic comic book and movie series.
So, Sophie, it's been a while. How has everything been? How was your Christmas, by the way? It's been a while since you've been on the podcast.
Yes, isn't it? That's right. I've been mostly absent, but it's been good, and it's nice to be back to the podcast to say hello to everyone.
And obviously, looking forward to the Stardew Valley part of the podcast, which will be coming soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to get started. There's so much to say about Stardew Valley. It's just layers upon layers.
I think we'll get most of it done before we release, but we look to release that, but we'll be starting filming that pretty soon. Let's move forward and let's look at some gaming news. Bethesda says its Indiana Jones game will not impact Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6. Firstly, an Indiana Jones game done by Bethesda is where I want to start that. I am not... how do you put this? I am not over-enthralled by this idea.
It doesn't really instill confidence, does it?
I like Bethesda because they do big open worlds. I think that's very, very good at what they do. They do those big, wide, open worlds. They do them quite well. Is Indiana Jones going to be a big open world game?
No. I mean, Indiana Jones as a game, to be honest, and this might sound really controversial, I'd probably give it to Arcane Studio. The guys who work with Bethesda on Dishonored. Because Dishonored is a series of areas.
Yeah.
And they're fairly interconnectable, but a series of areas, and in those areas, there's a lot of work to create. I can't describe it any better than just the worlds within themselves, but they're not big. There's they've chucked a lot of information into a small area, but made it feel bigger than it is. For Indiana Jones, I don't think you could do a wide open jungle, for example.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it working. I think Bethesda are biting off more than they can chew, and I fear this is going to be another flop in the AAA kind of titles, which will be very, very disappointing because a few of them have
I said this on stream, but Indiana Jones, why can't they just leave it alone? The first 3 films are classics. Anything content added on after that has been relatively disappointing so far.
It's really weird. The guy who I thought they picked to take the mantle on, and I think he would have been good at it. He's just a bit of a Fruit Loop, and a bit of a weird one.
Sorry, you mean Bethesda?
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, you mean the actual actor? Yeah, no, he is a... I can see a point there. No, he is a bit...
I think he would have made a really good next Indiana Jones. Because he's got the right looks and stuff, and he's got the right kind of attitude. But in the same way, I'm like, as an actor...
That said, that wasn't the biggest game... That wasn't the biggest game news of the week, was it? The news that Lucasfilm Games has been formed, and apparently, I didn't fully understand this, but LucasArts has actually ended early an agreement, an exclusivity deal they had with EA, so that Lucasfilm Games could now create a open-world Star Wars game.
With open-world games at the...
It's the thing is, games... there was a time when, I'm sure Sophie doesn't regret this one's passing, there was zombie games we were pretty sure you could find. And that's kind of gone by the wayside. That said, there was a lot of big news that came out in gaming this week. Resident Evil has a showcase set for 10 PM on the 21st of January.
That'll be the next, not Resident Evil main game. It will be the next game that's slightly off the edge of the main game titles.
Well, Capcom have said expect Village, which is the next game's gameplay as well as a new trailer.
Oh, if they're just doing Village, that's been pretty much announced. So I thought they'd be announcing something new. If they're just announcing Village data, that'd be pretty cool. I'm interested to see where they take Village, because I know it's connected to number 7, which is pretty... And they've changed complete genre and back to horror again, which is cool. But yeah, it's definitely something which is looking up in the world.
And to be honest, I really loved the reveal for Village, and I can't wait to play it. It looks so good. But I still need to play the one before. Nintendo, or the Pokemon Company, are trying to now save Nintendo's very fast-sinking reputation with the release date for the upcoming new Pokemon Snap, which is the 30th of April.
Pretty close
I
to
mean,
the start of the financial year, isn't that?
Well, the new financial year starts very much the beginning of April, so yeah. To be honest, don't get me wrong, I think Pokemon Snap is a game that people have been dying for. I think it's a great game, but again, it's this whole problem with Nintendo. It's not a system seller. You don't go out your way to buy a system for Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, they need something big coming out soon. All their big games came out very early in their console cycle.
Except for Animal Crossing, which is kind of the last big one, and that was nearly a year ago.
To be fair, the last Pokemon game was only just over a year ago.
Oh no, that was well over a year now.
I'm thinking of like the add-ons and stuff. So
well, the add-ons were a couple of months ago.
yeah, so
If
they've still been doing stuff for that, but again, it's nothing like major.
And last but not least, in terms of gaming news for this week, that I don't know if you heard, but there was some big news from Google Stadia.
What has Google Stadia came out and said?
They've announced that there's a native smart TV app coming out, so you can basically download the app.
That does not surprise me one bit. That was where
It's
this was going from day one.
It surprised me it's taken this long, but yeah, this was announced at CES. That LG announced that their new TVs will support native apps for playing the Stadia games. I mean, it is interesting because it feels like Stadia, before it was released, was being hyped as the console killer. It kind of had a shite launch, can we be honest?
I think you're being polite with the word shite, if I'm honest.
Fair play.
Okay,
it just completely bombed. People just weren't interested in it, weren't excited by it. It didn't offer anything substantial. I mean, Stadia's exclusives aren't exclusives, they're just temporary, timed deals. And the games in question aren't exactly, again, console sellers. So, for me, I looked at it and gone, meh. But,
if it comes with a brand new if you get a brand new TV and you can get it on your TV, it could do very, very well.
Well, that's the thing.
In a few years' time.
How much do you have to spend on that TV, though? Because, if it's coming with a... The thing is, with Stadia, if I was Stadia, I would be trying to get that on budget smart TVs.
Yeah.
Because you know that you will get many hours of content usage from them. And you're building loyalty, which, people say, well, are we really that loyal nowadays? I simply say, have a look up either the Xbox or PlayStation hashtags on Twitter, and you'll see very quickly how loyal people apparently are.
Yeah, but I think there's definitely a big loyalty out there. That is one definite out there. There's a massive loyalty towards some brands with quite a good number of people, and there's also, in my opinion, there's definitely also a strong belief in not lawyers per se, but ease of access.
Yeah.
Which Stadia could so rip into. Oh, do I want to go out and get this brand new console or upgrade my PC? Oh, I can just get it on Stadia. It's on my TV. I might as well just get it on my TV. So ease of access is definitely something that's really important. But funny you should mention Stadia because PC sales are the healthiest they've been in a decade. In the fourth quarter, they grew by 26% over the previous year alone.
Well, the reality is the PC genre is only going to get more sales because Xbox have for years played a close relationship between console and PC to such a degree that while Sony fans may mock the Xbox kind of movement for it, Sony have now started to sell their games on PC as well. So it does seem that PC is the best of all worlds. An example of this is Persona 5 Strikers, which is the brand new game coming out next month. It's a Disney Warriors template for the Persona style and art style, and it is a direct sequel to Persona 5. It's been released simultaneously on PC, PlayStation 4, and Switch.
That's pretty cool, and I definitely want to go more into like that kind of things in the future. What I want to touch on for like the last part of this podcast, because I don't want to get too stuck into the news side, is looking forward to a few more things that's going to be happening, and also looking forward to streaming, for example, because me, you, and Sophie, we're all streamers. Sophie's getting more into streaming, obviously, hopefully. So it's now. What are you like looking at? Because we've been in this for about first 15 days. I don't know if you got your first Twitch paycheck this year now.
Yep. Yes, I did.
What's your first thing that you're now looking forward to moving on, and Sophie as well, with like streaming and stuff? And what's your big target for this next 15 towards the second? It's start of February.
Okay, so I guess as a streamer or a content creator, I mean, it's no secret that I do love to try and experiment with my content, and I do like to try and push the boundaries of what it is I do, and that's kind of translated into the games I play. Some people may notice I drop a game after a while, and that's just if I feel like there's a level of enthusiasm, and that level of enthusiasm is dictated by both myself and the people watching. And if it drops below a certain degree, then the kind of joy of playing that game on stream sort of diminishes a bit.
What
there are some streamers. It could be any game, to be honest with you. Okay. Story games are perfect for stream because, quite literally, you can let your stream crowd dictate decisions. You can take it at a pretty decent pace, and it's not too hour intensive. You don't find yourself like waking up going, "Oh, I've got to complete it." You kind of go, "Well, it's only the third hour of playing it, so boom, and you've completed it." And it's also an easy 100%. Cool. In terms of content for this year, though, I have got a project coming out really soon with the lovely Sophie, and that project was a little taster of what I want to try and do a bit more of this year. This podcast is a bit of that as well. Like, my streams are about playing games, interacting with the community, and having fun with multiplayer games. But I also want to try and let loose my kind of creative side, which I often say isn't there or is dead, it doesn't exist. The reality is
maybe you're still inside.
Well, maybe. The reality is there is some creativity in me, and there are certain outlets, and this video series is one of them. I've been really enthused and excited about
what information
developing.
Do you have for this video series, and does Sophie want to get involved in this explanation of how much you want to give away about how excited you are for this to be coming out in the coming few months, we'll say. Is it coming few months your target time is?
For the first one?
For the first, few. I thought you were going to do the...
Yeah. So, at the moment, what I can reveal is we have roughly scripted out 3 of them.
Yeah.
We've planned a 4th one. We have ideas for a 5th, maybe even a 6th. That said, there might be a number, which I've got to agree with her. We've not really kind of come up with a full-on plan, but there'll have to be a number where we stop and take stock.
Yeah.
And decide. Because, A, is it fun, still fun to do? B, is it still doable? C, are people liking it?
Yeah, and that takes me to Sophie's side of this, because Sophie's doing most of your video editing, isn't she, at this moment in time?
Honestly, yes, and she is a lifesaver, and, in the scripting, I may write up a script, I may put in a couple of ideas. Her as a video editor can tell me if it's A, doable or not, but also, I love how she has this sort of... It's almost like co-director, because she will see a gap that I've missed, and she will completely fill it with something that I hadn't even thought of. And it just, you see it or you hear it, and it's that moment where you just go, yes, that is perfect. That is exactly what that was missing from that moment. And this video, there is at least 2 or 3 moments where, having watched the first take of it, I burst out laughing because I just hadn't realised how she was going to deliver it,
That's pretty cool. Sophie, how's it been editing these videos? Have you found video editing easy with the software that you use, and what software do you use?
Tears of pain. Okay, no, it's been very fun, and it's I've actually said this to Bear, but it's been one of my favourite projects that I've done in the whole of video editing and that kind of stuff. It can often be really gosh, what's the right word? A bit draining. But actually I really enjoyed this. There have been moments where I've sort of screamed at the computer and cried in pain, but overall I have enjoyed it. At the moment I'm using VideoPad, which is basically a free software that's basically the same as Adobe Premiere Pro, just a free version. It's not the best, but I think if you're starting out, it's not a bad software to use, especially if you don't want to pay. Soon enough, though, I'm going to be moving on to better software, courtesy of the Bear. Thank you very much, again.
Well, I had some software, I wasn't using it, and let's be honest, she's using free software. And when you watch that video, please take that into consideration, because what she's created with free software is bloody brilliant.
Thank you, although I think you praised me a bit too hard.
Me and Barrett certainly admitted to it yesterday as well. We were both laughing
It looks really, really good at the moment. As I said, it'd be really interesting in the final product, and when the final product is actually out, coming back to it on the podcast and looking at it and talking through all the editing process would be really interesting, because then you can get into the nitty gritty and saying at this point I was thinking just trying to so people can get the idea of how in depth it is when you're editing a video with that much detail, because there is quite a lot of detail there.
I mean, for that kind of content, for the content we've created, you're probably best doing it in 2, because there's the first half, which was the planning and the scripting, and how we kind of tackled the gathering as well, if you like, because once we scripted, the first video, Sophie was so quick to just outline exactly what we needed and where we'd find it in the game itself. And we both went out and, yeah. I've learned my lesson now. And for anyone who does do this kind of project and has somebody doing editing, and I know Sophie will thank me for passing this on to help spare the tears and misery of anyone else who edits, remember to actually label the video content so that they can find what they're looking for.
I tell you, that like is actually almost part of what made the project so like life draining. It was so difficult. Like, and it wasn't just that; it was like big blocks of recording that were like maybe nearly an hour long. Actually,
baby.
not like that, but like like an hour to half an hour. And like not at all labelled, and I'd have to go through every single one to find what I need and then chop it up. Like, it's okay. I got there in the end, and now we know, and now you know, and I've also it's sort of helped as well because I've found like an easier way to like get through it, if that makes sense, and find what I need.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's worked out, and there's still a lot I need to do with the video, and I'd be happy to talk about it to anyone that wants to know, or anyone that wants tips or whatever, or I can talk about the pod, like whatever. I don't mind. But it's nearly done, and it will be out to you guys soon, hopefully.
That's awesome. And just before we do the podcast for it, we'll put out on the Discord if there's any questions about video editing, and we'll make sure that we mention it in the podcast before we're going to film it. So people's got like a couple of weeks to like getting questions about video editing if they want to ask any questions. So there's a bit of time. So if there is any questions out there, that they can be asked. I think that'd be really cool if there is any questions from somebody who's watching going, I don't really know, and then after see the video, then we can have like a little Q&A if there's questions that are out there that people's like, actually I wanted to know that how that was done and things like that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Oh, and just a little thing, I don't claim to be a pro. These guys are praising me a lot, but there's still that I need to learn, like a lot I need to learn as well. And I'd say your biggest resource is YouTube for that kind of thing. Obviously, I'll help and I'll give you any tips, but YouTube could probably help you more.
I would also add that having watched like Sophie's first edits, the second edits, third edits, fourth edits, one of the things I'm praising the hardest and loudest is that she didn't sit back on her knowledge, and as you watch the video, it's the same in a way that people can't see what I've seen, because your knowledge and skills have really developed over just the development of this one video. Like, honestly, I have witnessed firsthand, and I don't know if it's just confidence or if genuinely you've just been learning and doing, but you have come a long way.
Thank you. I think it's been mostly the drive. Like, I think anyone that does these projects knows how difficult it can be to like find the motivation to sit down and just do what you need to do. And to start with, like, it was like a little bit of lack of like skills, but it was also like a drive, and you can see like the way the video picks up. Like, I think just a bit past the middle, I sort of get more of a drive, and then I start really enjoying the projects, and then it will just come together.
I would say that, and I think as long as you're willing to learn as you go along and do stuff, and this is where I want to praise somebody else in our community. We've got someone in our community called Madhouse, and this goes much along the lines of what Sophie just said. Do you know how you said about going onto YouTube and going on and learning a little bit off YouTube and then like taking it and practicing it and then learning it kind of thing? Madhouse is somebody else who's done that, but with her art style. And I can remember like when I saw the art that was produced, I was so amazed at just what she's picking up and how she's learning it. And it's the same with Sophie with video editing. It's not perfect at the moment, but it's a growing process and it's learning. And I think that's the most important thing, is especially like this last couple of years to end of 2019 to 2021, where we are at now. There's been so much time that we've all had a chance to learn. And I think that hasn't been picked up by many of us. I think I think a lot of us have wasted time where we could have actually been growing our skills, a repertoire of things that we can do. And these two people, especially for me, show the best of what we could have done in that year and a bit, should I say? And I think that's really important that we take away and learn from. as a community and as human beings ourselves that actually times when we aren't as like proactive, we're wasting that time, and it is difficult. I know I struggle with being proactive, but that inspires me. You know what I mean?
I do, and thank you. That's actually really nice to hear. And also, just a side note, like, if you are struggling at the moment, there is always room for improvement in whatever skills you've got, whether that's just going on YouTube, looking up tutorials, going and getting images. Even like, I know it's often like really looked down on, but tracing like art that people have done really can help your art style as well, as long as you don't say it's obviously yours. But just doing stuff like that, just honing your skills, and even picking up new skills. Like I started doing yoga, and it can help so much with your mental health. So hone those skills, practice, practice, practice. Never ever give up.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you're struggling for different reasons, for like the mental blocks through other means, there are always plenty of great resources to come and help you as well. And to Barrett, I simply say, in terms of learning stuff, I agree with you giving that kind of praise to Sophi. I've not really done anything, to be honest.
Exactly. My guitar's still sat there. I think I have to dust my guitar again. My guitar's been dusted more time than its strings have been plucked.
Honestly, the most I've ever really done this last year I started streaming, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I've turned on the camera. But really, I haven't really done anything that different. Now, to be honest, there's plenty I could still do with learning, but, well, we'll get there.
We all will.
You never stop learning. I think my grandparents used to say that, and then then my granddad tried to learn a mobile phone, and I wish he had stopped learning. Every week there was something different wrong.
I think you'll just find that with the older generation, though.
Yeah, it is as we say, it's something where we're moving forward and we're moving onwards. We have hit quite some time there, so we went through a few things today. We've obviously been through games that we've been playing at the start of this year. We're welcoming Sophie back from the Christmas hiatus.
Thank you.
And then we did a little bit gaming news. We're followed by some exciting news from the community, as well as looking into like learning new skills that people have been doing in and around. Now, that about wraps it up for this one. So, as you now know, we actually have a pre-recorded end, so Sophie will have to record that afterwards. But as you go into the pre-recorded end, remember, please take note of the phone numbers that you see on the screen. They are deeply important. Even if you don't think you'll use them yourself, keep them in your phone. You never know when a friend will need them. Please keep safe. Please keep well. Keep sane and keep smiling. And on that note, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
No.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hey guys, I've been Sophie Bubbles. Come find me at www.twitch.com. Shit.
For those who want to know where to go, it is www.twitch.tv/SophieBubbles. That's SophieBubbles. Thank you.
Hey, I'm the Roving Bear. Come and check out my content over on Twitch.
www.twitch.tv/TheRovingBear. I'm Barrett87, it's www.twitch.tv/Barrett87, and all my other links are found on there too. That is www.twitch.tv/Barrett87, BARECH87.
Beep, beep. You've been listening to a Sanctuary broadcast. We will now resume regular programming.